Three, two, one. Hi, welcome back to the Miracle Online podcast. This is a podcast about relationship, dating, marriage, commitment, all about love. And what's so great about it is that we have here an opportunity to talk about things that we sometimes always have questions about. So today we're doing a topic on betrayal and forgiveness. So, with that being said, I'm Jeff, and this is.
I'm Kat.
And we've been married for how long now, babe?
Going on 27.
Wow. So, one of the key factors why I advocately wanted to talk about this topic is because I find that this particular topic has plagued a lot of the relationships out there. A lot of people who had a pretty good thing going and somehow they fell apart. So, let's get down right to it. I want to thank everybody to make sure you leave comments and, of course, like and subscribe. But here's the key thing. When you're in a relationship, especially when it's brand new, that's where there's a lot of times I would say we're learning about each other. Even though you and I have spent a lot of time talking about it before we even met. One of the key factors I really do believe that really set us apart is that we talked about commitment of no outs. Right.
We did.
So in sense of commitment, if you're making a decision of making a commitment, then the last thing you're wanting to do is throw a monkey wrench into the system and basically screw it up. And how can you screw it up? Well, infidelity. One of the biggest thing out there, right? If you decided all of a sudden, oh, somebody else is showing me attention and affection. Oh, that feels so good. And you act upon it. And then after you're done, you're going, oh, crap. What did I just do to my relationship? So now does it become a big lie? Does it become, I got to start to hide?
Well, I would think so if you're cheating on your significant other.
So let's just go from, let's say, from the point of dating. If you're dating someone and let's say the very early on, the first month or so, intimacy starts to happen. And about 6 months into this relationship, you realize that things are not the same excitement, same enthusiasm, and it starts to wear down. And all of a sudden, it's like he's not here or she's not answering my calls. And you realize that they're just a disconnect. First and foremost, you feel it. You actually feel this feeling in your gut. And how did that happen? Because we had already had intimacy. We connected. We actually have connection with this other person. So when this other person starts to disconnect from you, even from afar, you actually have intuition. And I believe that's true. You actually have something within you that's telling you, this isn't resonating right. This isn't right. Then you come to find out, wow, this person was with another person besides me. Okay. So now that happens a lot in sense of guys are not ready for a commitment. They'll say anything. They will promise you anything and everything to be able to have sex with you. And then once that's done, I've conquered. I am now moving on, but I can't just do it gracefully. I'm going to do it slowly and then eventually ghost. I've heard a lot of heartbreaks like that.
Yeah,
right?
we've heard the stories. One thing, and you hear me say over and over is communication.
Yeah.
And, in that story, I would want to know, well, did you both have a line of communication that said, we are going to be exclusive with each other and not date other men or women?
Right.
So don't be afraid to ask that question. Especially if it's something that you want. That's what you want. Never assume. You know what they say when you assume?
You make an ass out of you and me.
Right? Yeah. So don't assume. Don't be timid about this because, this is your life and you sharing your most precious, beautiful life with someone else.
That's right.
So have that communication. Don't be shy to bring that to the table. Because then you know where you stand. If you never had that dialogue, then, you really don't have a leg to stand on.
Right.
I have an associate friend. I'm not going to name names, who told me about a website. Uh, are we dating the same guy?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
which I was, of course, they didn't have these back when we were doing online dating uh, over 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
But my feeling is, if you need to go on that site, are we dating the same guy, just to bust him or her?
Yeah.
Well, actually him. I don't know if they have sites called Are We Dating the Same Gal? I'll bet there is. I'll bet there is.
Well, there's TV show Cheaters that's been running for a
Cheaters.
long time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, but if you have the need to go on that site,
Yeah.
you need to be out of that relationship. You have no trust built,
That's right.
right?
Yeah. Communication and trust needs to be really forefront of your relationship. It really needs to be put down in concrete rules and really
Well, not in a
agree.
rule book, so
Well,
to
I
speak.
believe so. I
Well,
believe there should be.
a printed
Well,
out that you
no,
both sign.
I mean, we're not going to sit there and go, like pro sports and go, this is the book of the rules. But I really do believe that
Honest communication. Yeah.
the level of commitment and the guidelines of the line, there's no blur in this. Okay. Like when you and I had our talks, we talked about everything, including the commitments.
Mhm.
Okay. So if I all of a sudden get my ego stroked and I know I can hide from this evil deed if I just went and cheated on my wife and nobody would know except for me, I'm going to get away with it. Would I do it? Heck no. Why would I do that? With number one, destroying what I've built so hard that I've earned and developed with my lovely wife for something that just purely a physical ego stroke. That to me is immaturity. Number one. Number two is you carry that negativity with you. And now
Absolutely.
everybody in your house is going to know it. She's going to know it, and you're going to know it, and you're going to eventually fess up. And then what? You're going to destroy your marriage over it. So think,
Or your
McFly.
relationship, if you're dating, whatever it is. But back to the non-marriage part of it.
Okay.
Of course, it's devastating once you've given that, honorable, vows to be with one another.
Well, that's right.
In marriage and matrimony. But certainly dating, whether it's you're dating for, a month or, 2 years,
Mhm.
You need to have that communication. If you have not, shame on you. If you have not
That's right.
had that communication about commitment, about exclusivity, because then, it's wild, wild west.
That's right.
And don't be surprised.
And that's key right there about what you just said, the communication. If you didn't say anything, this person had intimacy with someone else, well, then I guess your relationship wasn't really spelled out. So does forgiveness at that point fit this scenario? Possibly,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because at this point, okay, now let's really understand each other that I'm not okay with you just sleeping around with other people.
Right.
Okay. So if you want me, we're going to be us. If you don't want us, then thank you, goodbye, good luck.
Right. Or, and again, there are people who have open relationships, and if you're just kind of testing the waters and you
Mhm.
want to be open to dating other folks, then you shouldn't be upset if your significant other is dating other folks as well. But again, communication, everything needs to be on the table
Yeah.
when you're sharing, that part of your life with someone, and especially intimacy.
Oh, no question. And as far as, and this is a part where the 5D shaman's going to come out and tell you to align your chakras, to be spiritually in tune, to be able to be enlightened and go to a higher level. You cannot let sexuality drag you around and dictate you. Number one reason is that anybody you go intimate with, you're going to take their energy and their balance into you, and it stays with you for a while. I mean, it could be years. What I encourage you, I'm not going to sit here and do a whole seminar on this, but go do your research about balance of chakra, about sexual intimacy, and about self. It's so important for you to truly understand. And here's the thing. I know we're in a different time now. In sense of different times, meaning that I see a lot of people that is so-called couple or married, husband and wife, that is open to other people in this relationship. So that means the wife can go out and have sex, and the husband can go out and have sex. They can have live-in mistresses and whatnots, and they think this is all great. Fine.
If it works for them, they're consenting adults.
By all means, you're concerned. Yeah, you're an adult. You can do whatever you want. However, I will say with experience and with knowledge that this is not optimizing you. Okay. This is very much a physical thing. Where's the balance of the spiritual, the soul, and the self?
And that's such a good point. That is a physical thing that those people are choosing. And for what reasons? There's a lot of dynamics that goes into it.
Yeah.
They may have told themselves at a very young age that that's all they deserve. Okay.
Yes.
Is physicality and superficiality and not true intimate spiritual connection.
Mm-hmm.
They may have told themselves that and settled for breadcrumbs, not the kind of breadcrumbs we talked about in another episode where online people are leaving you breadcrumbs, but breadcrumbs, and you're telling yourself it's a full loaf, but it's not, and you deserve more. But we're not here to preach. The people who have decided on a certain lifestyle, that they have chosen that. When it's time, it's time for them to take the veil off and look at their life, they may do that and see that they truly do deserve more. But we're talking about people who already know that they want a monogamous relationship, and they don't want to be having their significant other being sexually active with other individuals. It really, again, needs to be put on the table and talked about. And you might say, oh, well, that's uncomfortable and I don't want to be too pushy or this and that. Again, you deserve the whole loaf.
Yeah. Male
or female, you deserve the whole loaf. Don't be afraid to ask what is deserved, what you deserve, because you've got to honor yourself. If you don't honor yourself, your significant other is not going to honor you. So people treat you how you treat yourself.
And especially if this level of communication wasn't established early on and you're fairly young, let's say you're in your 20s, and you decided that the path is eventually marriage, and everybody just take this as, the rule of thumb, and we just accept that because we've known each other, we've dated, now we're going to get married. And then, of course, when you get married, what do? You get a house and have children. And yet none of the important things was ever discussed. So 6-7 years down the road, all of a sudden you have a spouse that commits infidelity. That absolutely destroys everything that you've built up to that point. And this is the point that I want to make about forgiveness. If you made a commitment at the level of marriage, there is really forgiveness only for self. But how could you ever have forgiveness to be able to rebuild something? So you need to be very careful and
and only you can determine that, because forgiveness is really a gift to ourselves. Only you can choose whether to forgive and to go forth to continue to build this relationship based on all of your individual experiences. But I personally myself learned the nuances and the beauty of forgiveness from afar. Again, and you can, in not just marriage relationships, but familial and others, you can choose to forgive the worst of transgressions. And it's a wise thing to do because it is a gift to you, not to the person who you need to forgive. But only you can decide in a marriage, what the circumstances are. But forgiveness is possible.
Right.
It definitely is possible.
And that's why it's so important to talk about that commitment level, and that level should be the crowning top effort that you put in every day. This is our commitment. This is about us, and we're a team. We're going to be this, solidify as one. And if you betray that trust, if you already have that conversation, you betray that trust, hey, I have no pity if you then destroy that family of that you built, and then your wife or your husband says, "No, we can't trust you, and we can't have it." I get that. I fully understand that, and I myself believe in that because you know what? Once you take a vase and break it on the ground, it is not, really the same anymore. Even though you can glue it back together, you're going to have chips and so forth. But in a marriage, when you do this, it's not literally just breaking a vase. You took it, smashed it, and then took a hammer and made it into dust. And then you're asking that to come back into being a vase. That's really not going to happen. That's how much commitment and assurance that you have to have for yourself when you go into a marriage. Reason why I'm bringing this topic up, especially about the betrayal aspect of it and forgiveness, is because that a lot of people end up being divorced. We have this divorce rate now for 50 years at 50%.
50%.
Over half a century of 50% or more. 1 out of 2 is getting divorced. Why? Because number one, it's easy to just walk out and pay somebody to clean it up for the record.
Yeah, they've made it too easy.
Okay, so it's a convenience. No different than why everybody eats, crappy food at drive-thrus. Not here to preach about that, but it is a reason behind why we're failing at great relationships. So
because it takes effort, it takes intention.
Oh, sure.
And unfortunately, we've seen, through the last couple of decades, we're kind of a throwaway society. And again, as you mentioned, because divorce is so easy, I'll just get a divorce and you're done.
That's
rather
right.
than it's easier than going, okay, let's pull up our bootstraps and make this work.
Mhm.
What can we do to make this work?
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. If you all of a sudden realize he's not coming home, like we saw the movie She-Devil again yesterday. It was just about this. It was about infidelity.
Yeah,
And the fact remains,
Roseanne
yeah, the infidelity aspect of it. We're not idiots. We've already went to school. We've grown up. We've gone out to the working world, and now we have family and children possibly. And to sit there and then not think that, hey, if I put my pokey in another person, or I'm going to go and have sex with another person, that absolutely destroys and betrays everything I stood for in that marriage.
I encourage you not to become a she-devil if you're a victim of that and you're a female. But
that was brutal. But I mean, again, in a lot of ways, we all went, yeah, he deserved it. He deserved it. Right?
Yeah.
Why would you hurt someone you love so dearly? You have to ask that question, number one, before you go, oh, stroke my ego. Oh, I haven't been felt this alive in a long time. Really? Really? If that's the case, are you awake in your relationship, in your marriage? Because I feel alive every day. I feel more thrive and inspired every day because I'm with her.
Oh.
So the fact that can happen becomes what? Number one, your point of view, your paradigm, your efforts, and your intentions. It comes from you. Okay, so if I wake up with that intention every day that I'm going to give my all into my marriage, then there is no time for someone else to come by and goes, oh, you look so good. Look at what you're doing. Look at your hair. None of that matters. Okay. Ego stroking. I mean, seriously, are you so insecure that somebody pays you a compliment? You immediately thinks, oh, that's just so great that I will throw away my reality for a moment of fantasy fulfilled.
So
Think about
it
that.
comes down to self-love. It really does. So,
yeah.
People who fall prey to that very easily, have a part of them inside that feels unloved or unlovable. And it's really self-love. It's not that your wife or your husband 9 times out of 10 isn't making you feel, because they can't make you feel anything.
Right.
You have to own your own feelings and really love yourself.
Yeah. And a lot too is, I think it comes from role modeling. How you were raised, who brought you up, what do you see? And another thing is, what kind of television programs and movies you're watching here?
We just watch She-Devils.
Right. But at the same time, we're not in the kind of people at this point to watch a movie and go, oh, and all of a sudden we get inspired and we want to be like what we saw on the screen. We know it's play acting. We know it's fake. And that's
let's just touch on that just briefly. I know it's not the topic, but as much as we watch what we put in our mouths, in our bodies, etc. And Jeff knows this because we've gotten way more conscious in the last few years of what comes through that screen into
Yes.
our living room.
Yes.
I veto shows all the time. It's like, nope, I vetoed one last night. Nope, that's too much negativity.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of darkness. I don't care. It might be enlightening. To me, it's just like Inquirer or whatever they used to call it, National Enquirer. Like
gossip, TMZ.
Right? Like TMZ. It's like, no, I don't really care.
Sensationalism.
And that goes into your psyche. It goes, your subconscious records everything, whether you believe it or not, and then it responds. So I would encourage you to monitor as much as you do the good things that you put into your body, into your mouth, etc., that you monitor what comes in to your living room, because it will affect you, whether you realize it or not, on a subconscious level.
And I know a lot of people, a lot of generations now after us, who was raised with no governor of the television. And when I say that is we
only had 6 channels.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We grew up with 3 channels, major network, and then PBS and UHF channels.
Right.
Where by the time I was late teens, getting ready to get out of high school, cable television came on. So we had HBO, the movie channel, and places like that would watch with, give you movies repetitively over and over, and no governor. So violence and sex was the norm.
And then you had the redundancy of commercials brainwashing you.
Yeah. And then today, of course, with streaming services, you can pick whatever you want. So if you're not governor, in regards to the intake, then of course you're going to get fed a lot of stuff that is not real and it's a fantasy. And you can't live your life with a fantasy driving the car, because that is guaranteed accident. You need to have openness and clarity. You need to have communication, especially in the world of commitment and relationship.
And it starts with, we've mentioned the word many times, Jeff, it starts with intention. And so, what does that mean? Intention, if you were to think of it as a pyramid, intention's probably up here at the base and most widest part of the bottom of the pyramid is your principles. What is important to you? What do you value?
Okay? Yes.
Because 100%. If you're going to feel incongruent, if you say, well, family's important to me, love's important to me, honesty, whatever your values, foundational values are,
right.
If those are here and there's nothing in the rest of the pyramid that drives those values, and it's quite the opposite, you're going to feel out of sorts. Yeah. You're going to feel stressed. You're going to feel anxious, because you're not living your self-professed values.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the key, where if you are in a relationship and you feel your partner is not at that level, for whatever that is, you feeling the balance, creating the evenness and the togetherness, then I think communication should be the next step, opposed to distance. I know in my history that I have lost interest in relationships that I didn't know what else to do other than just eventually, it's not working. And there was really no pretext or any kind of preparation for that bomb to drop. So if I drop that bomb, this isn't working, all of a sudden I come across as the total bad guy, because I decide to leave the relationship. But I also know myself, if I didn't leave this relationship, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to commit any kind of infidelity and cheat on this person. And then I'm going to end up not so happy. They're going to end up hating me. And
you'll end up hating yourself for doing that. Not
well, no, I think at that point I would just be relieved, because I'm no longer in the relationship. Because but I didn't do that in this sense, because I already know if I did that, that's what would happen. I was no dummy.
I was no dummy.
I actually, because I've seen things happen with my friends, and I've seen things happen when you start to make up lies to not be there. And what happens when you do that? You have to cover that lie. And pretty soon, every conversation you have with your relationship becomes somewhat of a disguise. And then that mistrust starts to come out. And that's what's building. Not the trust, it's the mistrust that's building. And that's what destroys both sides at that point. And pretty soon, everything is talked and spoken in that time frame of being almost chirpy, aggressive, or not paying attention. Everything becomes a fight. How come every time I talk to you is an argument? Every time I see you, I'm wishing, why am I looking at you?
And that's because you're carrying this baggage behind you in a big duffel. Every time there's a mistrust or a suspicion of a lie, you throw it in the duffel, and pretty soon you're just dragging it around and dragging it around and dragging it around, instead of going, okay, let's not put this behind us, let's put it on the table. And you both deserve that. Both parties deserve that honesty, being candid, being forthright with your intentions, because again, you've got one big beautiful life to live, and who wants to live it in covering lies, dishonesty, disgruntledness, anxiousness, and not feeling loved? Nobody wants that.
And if you're not feeling love, you need to speak up. You need to have that communication open. We had communications many times in regards to, you can't talk to me like this. Well, why? What happened now? We go deep. We talk about disrespecting, or I feel disconnected, or I feel you're somewhere else, or whatever it may be. We work it out. We would literally sometimes be very angry, be very upfront, but we would never disengage. We would never run away from each other.
Right.
That to me.
And when I did try to.
Well, it just doesn't.
It doesn't work. But I learned, and I know you did, from Barbara DeAngelis decades ago, the intricacy of arguing. And I remember her giving an example of, okay, you were supposed, you said you'd be home for dinner at 6 o'clock. Right. You come trailing in at 7:30, and instead of going, yelling, oh my gosh, you were supposed to be here at 6 o'clock, dinner's gotten cold, attacking, all that does is trigger defense. So you've got attack, defense. Certainly she would have been justified, and who knows if he was justified in his defense. But the better way to articulate that, as Barbara talked about, was to say, you know what, when you come here an hour and a half late for dinner, it really makes me feel disrespected.
Well, too bad. See, and you would never say that.
If you said that, I'd kick your ass out the door.
That's right.
But immediately, I mean, honestly, doesn't that change? You're not defensive. You're like, oh, she feels.
Well, yeah. First thing would put me in a position to say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to disrespect you.
Yes.
Of
course.
That would be the first response, because that would be the true response.
Right.
I didn't. That isn't a reason why I was
to
late.
Disrespect you.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking no phone call, whatever. And I'm sure there are reasons in that, but the point of it is that instead of attacking and being aggressive, which is going to create defensiveness, it's, you know what, you did this, and when you do that, I take ownership. Don't say you. You make me, because nobody can make you feel anyway that you don't approve.
I often
for you
say
to feel that way. But say, when you do that, I feel this way. The action. Yeah, it causes me to feel this way.
Right.
Okay. Own your feelings, because you do.
That's right.
You do decide how to feel.
Yeah, I learned that at Barbara's seminar as well. Yep. And this is where the key of forgiveness is communication. It is not to be used every scenario. And what I mean by that is some things are not forgivable. Okay. So don't take my so-called experience and my recommendations and so forth. It's like everything is forgivable. Not really.
All right. So I'm going to disagree with you.
Please do.
On that, because I honestly feel that anything is forgivable, just as our Lord and Savior forgave us. I believe everything is forgivable. It doesn't mean you forget it. It just, Jim Carrey, I wished I had his quote, but I'll summarize it. It's something like this: just because we're no longer friends doesn't mean I wish you any ill will. I just don't wish you a table setting at my table.
Okay, I get that.
Okay.
Sure.
So and it comes back to what I truly believe. And I learned this from Maya Angelou, may she rest in peace. And that is that forgiveness is a gift to ourselves. And you owe yourself that peace to forgive anything.
Okay, well that sounds great on paper. Let me go outside and have a orgy with a group of people and come back and say, "Sorry, I made a rash decision."
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you're going to be in my life. Again, as Jim Carrey said, it doesn't mean that you'll ever
So you forgive me, but get out of my house.
Exactly. I
Okay.
forgive you because
Well, I'm pretty much there.
that's a gift to me, but get the hell out of Dodge. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to close because I know we're going over on time here. I'm going to close with this poem. And
Okay, before you do that,
yes,
we just want to make sure that people understands that we want to thank you very much for of course tuning in, watching the podcast. But we would love for you to comment and definitely share your story with us, because this is helping all of us and contributing to the greatness of good relationship, love, intimacy, marriage, commitment. Yeah, this is great. So don't forget. And
if you are single or you know someone who is, pick up my book, Miracles Online, at YAYU publishing.com. You'll be glad you did. It's a quick read. It's a GPS to online dating. Again, whether you're single, divorced, widowed, if you're not, share it with someone. And I'm going to close, if that's okay,
please,
Jeff,
do.
with this poem. It's called The Bridge After the Break.
Okay.
I once gave love with open hands, no fences, rules, or well-laid plans, but trust was cracked like shattered glass, a whisper lost in storms that passed. The wound ran deep, betrayals do sting. It clipped the edges of my wings, and so I built a wall so high no soul could scale or pass it by. But time, the quiet sacred sage, turned bitter chapters page by page, and in the hush between the pain, I found my breath and I rose again. Not to forget, but to forgive, to soften, to learn, and choose to live. Where trust once broken can be grown, a seed can be reborn in fields unknown. Love is not blind, it sees it all. The rise, the risk, the past, the fall, yet still it dares with trembling grace to offer heart and hold a space. Now I love not with naive eyes, but with a soul that's weathered lies. With clearer sight and open palms, I choose to walk through love's calm storms, because the bravest love of all is not the one that fears the fall, but trusts again with scars that gleam and builds anew the sacred dream.
Wow. And with that, thank you again for tuning in Miracles Online Podcast. We'll be back soon. Don't forget, share, like, and subscribe. And then, of course, my big thanks to always my lovely little bear. See ya.
Bye.